Hi there, guys. I'm Danny Flexon, and welcome to this live fan Q&A with Alex Krassyuk, the promoter, of course, of future world heavyweight title challenger Oleksandr Usyk. Alex, how are you?
Hey, nice to hear from you.
Nice to see you too. The fans are very excited to pose some questions to you, and we'll kick right off with ZL Methane. I've got a feeling that's not their real name, but he says, or she says, could be either. Which of the big three heavyweights, presumably referring to Joshua, Fury, and Wilder, do you believe pose the biggest threat to Usyk?
Right now is Joshua because he's fighting. It's his next fight, so he's probably the biggest threat because neither Wilder nor Fury are ahead of Usyk now. So they need to fight each other. Someone has to win and then become a threat. At this point, I think there's AJ number one.
Good stuff. Now, S, I'm not sure what that's short for, on the live chat asks, what is the hardest part of being a promoter?
Frankly speaking, this is distributing the invitations before the show. You know what I mean? When you need to put guests on seats, on ringside seats, and you have like, let's say, 100 seats available and 600 guests who you need to put. This is the hardest part of boxing promotions.
I can imagine. Um, at British Boxing Blog asks, as talented as Usyk is, has promoting him been a challenge because there are less talented fighters but with much bigger profiles?
Promoting Usyk was a big pleasure. I tell you why. He is talented as a fighter and he is talented as a personality. Uh, Whenever you bring him to the press conference, and no matter what he says, people like listening to him with wide opened eyes, and they don't even feel that he might say some kind of stupid things, for example, like any person can. But he has some kind of charisma, the magnetic charisma. And as soon as he comes out live on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever, people just stir and listen to what he's saying. And that brings some extra feeling of a personality, of a huge personality that he is. And I tell you, it was not really complicated to work with a guy like Usyk because he knows what to do in the ring, he knows what to do out of the ring. And let's say when we came first to London to fight Bellew, to the UK to fight Bellew, he's not a big English speaker, but knowing some words, he can combine a couple of phrases that would lead to a meme, like he was at Super Series when he said, "I am Phil, I am very Phil," which became the hashtag.
Of course.
So, and working with him as the personality, working with him as the fighter, working with him as the celebrity already is more pleasure than a challenge.
Good stuff. Now, Scuba Diver AK1 says, are there any plans to get Denis Berenchik a fight outside of Ukraine? I saw him fight live in Kiev, a great character.
Yes, Denis Berinchik is the silver medalist of London. He's a great character. His walk to the rings are already legendary here in Ukraine, and people come not just to watch him fighting, but to see his next performance when he enters the ring. He's number 3 rated in WBO now. He has Kambosos and Lomachenko on position number 2 and number 1, and sooner or later, because the weight division now is a little bit stagnated, and As soon as the mandatory IBF mandatory fight with Lopez and the Kambosos takes place, they're going to be only one man in front of Berinchik. It's going to be Loma. So I believe that sooner or later he will be placed as the mandatory and he will get his chance to fight for the world title.
And will that involve him fighting outside Ukraine?
I think so. I think so. I was planning to work out the fight for him within the next 6 months that's going to take place out of Ukraine. And I'm still working on it.
Excellent. Now, Kevin Worrell asks, who is your favourite promoter or easiest promoter to work with?
Mr. Eddie Hearn.
I would be amazed if you said anything else.
But that's true.
What makes it so easy to work with Eddie?
I don't know. It happened from our first meeting. I remember we first met in Paris in Four Seasons on Georges V Avenue. That was actually the meeting to negotiate our deal on Usyk, our co-promotional deal on Usyk, which we had for 3 fights. It took us like 10 minutes to settle a deal.
Wow.
And the rest of time we were discussing some boxing stuff and just talking about life. So it was very easy. And by the way, making this fight was was not a huge challenge as well.
Okay. Steve Spevak says, how will Usyk cope with the home crowd advantage?
There is no advantage or disadvantage for Usyk. When he comes to the venue, it doesn't matter whether it's UK, Ukraine, America, or any other country of the world. He's there for boxing, and his style attracts fans. So as soon as he walks in, as soon as he appears in the country, people start to love him. And when he walks into the ring, though they can support his opponent, but they give all kind of respect to him.
And Steve also asks, and I'm not sure if he's referring to you or to Usyk, so you maybe can answer for both of you. Does he like fish and chips?
Fish and chips?
Yeah. It's a famous English dish.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know. I'm sure he loves kebab, but I'm not sure about fish and chips. And myself, I'm vegetarian, so I probably might love fish and chips like 15 years ago, not anymore.
Andy White asks, do you rate Dave Allen? Because obviously he spent some time in camp with you guys.
Yes, he made some good job here, but he retired.
Well, no, he's coming back.
Oh, well, everyone is coming back.
Yeah, David Hayes coming back.
Yes.
What do you make of that, by the way, David Hayes' return?
He's just 40.
Yeah.
He can make another 5 years.
Okay. David Hendry on the live chat asks, what do you think Usyk will weigh in this fight? How much do you think he will weigh?
In kilos, it's 100 plus minus 5 kilos.
Okay. We'll convert that later. We won't. People out there, Google it. Conversion's very, very easy. Daniel Williams says, what weaknesses do you see in AJ that you think Usyk can exploit?
Oh, I am a promoter. I'm not a boxing specialist. I can say that the advantage of Usyk is his speed. And when a man has higher speed than the other man, that makes him advantage and disadvantage to the other one.
We've had a question from Ash on the live chat, and a lot of other people have said similar questions, so he's kind of representing a bigger number here. But he says, do you trust the UK judges? Because there's been a number of controversial decisions here in the last few months.
And not just in the UK. Controversial decisions happen everywhere. And probably every week. And even on the Olympics, there were some controversial decisions. You know, I prefer a fighter leaving no chance for judges to judge the fight and to make a mistake. The sooner he finishes the fight, the less responsibility he puts on the judges.
It's a very good point. Chris Andre asks, and you might not like this because it's another quite technical question, and as you pointed out, you're not the trainer, you're the promoter, but I'll ask you it anyway. Chris says, Usyk tends to have a height and reach advantage more often than not in his fights, and he fights quite tall, so quite upright. Will he be able to adjust if AJ looks to maintain his range and box cautiously like he did against Joseph Parker?
Boxing cautiously is, a fighter can box the way his opponent allows him to. If AJ has an advantage of size and of reach, he will probably try to use it. And Usyk's objective is to use his advantage of speed and coming closer to him. So it's all the matter of style. There's going to be a fight of two different styles. And the one who is smarter, who is more concentrated and focused, probably will have the advantage.
And Super J. Cole fan, I love these handles, says, what is Usyk doing to train his power to heavyweight level?
He's not doing anything. He's done that already within the last probably 3 months. Now he's in the middle of a training camp, working very hard, very concentrated, very focused on his opponent. He's having some extraordinary, he's doing some extraordinary work now, very difficult and hard work. Because, his trainer says, the harder you work here, the more party you have inside the ring.
Good stuff. Now, this one, I think you'll probably enjoy answering. Big Bundit says, do you have any young prospects from Ukraine that we should be looking out for as future world champions?
Oleksandr Hizhnyak, Tokyo silver Olympic medalist, who lost in the third round by KO. Unfortunately, he made some small mistake, but I consider him to be the biggest prospect from Ukrainians now.
Good stuff. Now, someone else just asked exactly the same question. I hope they're watching. Let's have a look. So Del Bongo says, what do you and Usyk think of the WBC's bridgerweight division? And would you ever consider campaigning in it?
Well, when something new comes in, it takes some time to get used to it. And when one division has some weight division, when one sanctioning body has weight division that differs from other, I think it might bring some confusion in boxing. But sooner or later, it will be somehow adjusted. I remember maybe 15 years ago, IBF had the difference in weight for cruisers. In kilos, they probably had, as far as I remember, 86 kilos, and all three other sanctioning bodies had it starting from 91. But it was adjusted also to 91 later. So I can't answer this question. I never analyzed it. It might bring some benefit, but when a fighter has the belt in this division and he wants to unify, who should he fight? A cruiserweight or a heavyweight?
Savage, so good they named him twice, says, what, excluding Usyk and Lomachenko, what is your current pound for pound top 5?
I remember this question because I had Q&A on my Instagram a couple of days ago, and I didn't answer it because it's so complicated for me to build all those ratings. There are a few guys, and if you name just five, you are not naming the other 10 who you respect. So I will not answer this question.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Sammy Ali says, does Usyk have the power to knock out Anthony Joshua?
Every fighter has the power to knock out another fighter. All he needs to do is to place his punch to the chin. But the skill of the fighter shows whether he can or he cannot do that. And the skill of his opponent shows whether he allows or he does not allow his opponent to place a punch to the chin. It doesn't take, you don't need to use some extraordinary power when you place the proper punch. But it takes about skills to find the solution, how to manage everything inside the ring, and so you can, at the end, put your fist to someone's face.
Good stuff. Nick Darling says, do you believe AJ and his team really wanted this fight? Or do you think if Usyk wasn't in the mandatory position, they'd have tried to avoid him?
I don't know. You have to ask AJ, but that's why Usyk was the mandatory. To avoid any kind of stuff that the fighter does not want to fight him, or he's not a good marketable guy, or he's not like kind of person to bring some extraordinary profits, which I think Usyk is, and we can see it from the ticket sales, sold out within 1 day. But he's the mandatory, and if you want to be a champion, you have to comply with the rules of the sanctioning body. So you have to fight the mandatory challenger. And Usyk has already been 2 years as a mandatory champion.
Now, you mentioned the tickets there, so I wanted to ask you about a situation regarding the tickets that we spoke to Eddie Hearn about last week. And it seems that a relatively small percentage of the tickets were bought and then put up for resale on secondary ticket websites quite soon afterwards at a vastly inflated price. What do you make of that whole issue? I know it's not just a boxing issue, but what do you make of it?
It means that this fight is very popular. It means that people want to watch it. That people want to come and see it live. It means that Usyk is fighting AJ. One Olympic champion is fighting the other Olympic champion from the same Olympic Games. It has a huge exposure, and it's a huge interest from the boxing fans. For me, it means the higher prices are, more people want to see it. More people want to see it, the bigger interest is. The bigger interest is means that we are doing our job properly.
Okay. CSS Vodin asks, would Usyk fight Francis Ngannou in a boxing match? I guess that applies to any UFC fighter. Would he consider fighting a UFC fighter in the boxing ring?
I don't know, maybe when he turns 50. After he retires. But at this stage, he's a fighter, he's a boxer, and I never heard any kind of plans from Usyk to fight anyone but the best boxers in the world.
Will you have any of your other fighters on the undercard?
Yes.
Can you tell us who?
Not yet.
Okay. Because someone asked what's the undercard going to be, and obviously we know some of the UK side. We know that Lawrence Okoli's fighting Krassyuk,
Right.
Prodan against Florian Marku looks likely as well, and perhaps Callum Smith. What do you make of that, by the way, as he's going to be on the card most likely? Callum Smith moving up to light heavyweight.
Okay, it means that we're gonna have huge support for the main event.
What do you make of his chances in a new division? Obviously lost to Canelo most recently at super middle.
He's not a young man. He has to go up. I don't know his opponent. Who's he fighting?
They haven't named the opponent yet.
Then I will answer this question after I know the opponent.
Fair enough. A lot of people asking questions about Usyk's future beyond Joshua. What's the promotional situation beyond Joshua? Is he completely, aside from yourself, completely a free agent? Can you do co-promotional deals with other people?
Who?
Usyk.
Usyk is under promotional with K2.
Yeah, but can you do co-promotional deals with anyone after the Joshua fight? Are you free to do that?
We have the mandatory position, or we have the rematch clause in case Usyk wins. So after he wins twice, easy.
Were you quite happy to have that rematch clause in place? Because obviously it's another huge event, another huge payday, and in your view, another huge victory.
Yeah, I think so. We negotiated some fair conditions for the rematch, and I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have the rematch. And what can I say? Joshua is probably the #1 star in heavyweight boxing now, uh, especially in the UK. So fighting him in any part of the world is a big success for a fighter, and especially when you are giving him the rematch after you won.
Did you ever feel that Joshua Fury was going to happen this year? Were you worried that Alex wouldn't get his chance until next year?
I was pretty confident since January this year that the Fury AJ fight will not take place.
What gave you that confidence?
Hunch, feeling, and my experience in boxing. That's why we didn't do any deals with Joe Joyce. That's why we tried to stay aside of any kind of things that we were offered, like heavyweight fight here, another fight there, maybe some interim, maybe blah blah blah. No, we wanted we were in the position to announce the interim fight only after the regular fight is announced. Means that we couldn't go to the purse bid with Joyce before Fury Joshua fight is announced officially. So that was our point, that was our clause, and it was never announced, and mandatory for AJ was announced.
Who do you feel is the better fighter right now, Fury or Joshua? I know you think Usyk beats both, but who's the better of those two?
Two completely different styles. Uh, One is very athletic, straightforward, goal-oriented, with a nice punch, and the other one is more flexible, a player, a gambler in the ring, a guy who moves fast. He hasn't got a very strong punch like AJ, but he knows how to spoil the style of his opponent. So that's obviously a very cool fight to watch.
Good. And
Someday, maybe.
we'll end with this one. I think it's a nice question to end on. Ivan Ivanov says, could you please give some advice for an upcoming boxing promoter?
Yes, in October, I will start my online course for promoters, managers, and agents in professional boxing. And it's not just an advice, it's going to be a complete studying for men who just heard about boxing, but was never involved with it. So I think that gentleman needs to wait just a couple months and then to get involved.
Perfect. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we can catch up again before the big fight. But you've answered everyone's questions with great detail, so we really, really appreciate it.
Sorry for making this live in my car. I was in the middle of driving home from Usyk's camp. So you caught me just on the highway.
It's absolutely fine. Hasn't negatively impacted the interview at all. So really happy that you joined us. And yeah, let's definitely do this again in the lead up to the fight.
Okay, Danny. Thank you very much.
Thank you.